Welcome to the Stone Cold Truth here on the Genesis Communications Network. We're all about the truth here at the Stone Cold Truth, and we're going to find out today whether you can handle the truth. We bring you the very best from the inside track in New York, Washington, Miami. I went to a terrific party last night thrown by my friend Milo. Milo's gotten to the point in life where he's kind of like Halston. He doesn't really need his last name anymore. He's just Milo, and everyone knows who you're talking about. Terrific mix of libertarians and other liberty lovers last night of all genders and persuasions. It was really a terrific party. Essentially, it was called the Cinco de Milo party. And I saw the lovely Cassandra Fairbanks there last night, who's going to be joining us in a bit. Also joining us, another truth teller with brass cojones, my friend Mike Cernovich, who's really been out there breaking important stories about the malfeasance of the political establishment and their continued efforts to ignore the threat of Islamic terrorism. Also joining us is crusading independent investigative journalist Jacob Engels. Jacob is the publisher and sole proprietor of the Central Florida Post, formerly known as the East Orlando Post. He has broken a number of major stories, most recently about a professor at Rollins College here in Florida who was a radical Islamist and tried to take it out on her Christian-believing, disputing students through poor grades and other harassment. Of course, when Jacob broke that story, funny things started to happen to his Facebook and his Twitter and his Instagram feed and so on. We'll talk about that. I think we also have the Ed McMahon of talk radio, Tyler Nixon, my co-host. Yes. In the second chair here. Not since the days when Johnny has Ed has anybody had as good of a backup man.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you, Roger.
Tyler, for those who don't know, had a major show in the state of Delaware where he previously was an activist. And it became the must-listen-to weekend show for anybody who was interested in politics. Those are back in the days largely when Delaware was a two-party state, maybe even leaning red. The heyday of giants like Pete DuPont and Mike and Bill Roth and Tom Evans. These guys were national leaders. They weren't just Delaware leaders. They were national leaders. And the impact of many of the things they've done, particularly in the environmental area regarding Congressman Thomas B. Evans, Jr., we're still benefiting from.
Well, people forget that the Roth IRA is named after Senator Bill Roth from Delaware.
Well, and Bill Roth, as you know, with the crusading Congressman Jack F. Kemp, really were the pioneers for an across-the-board JFK tax cut. We now take it for granted that is accepted dogma in the GOP, but it wasn't when they introduced it. In fact, party leaders who were what we called root canalers, those who thought that the key to economic expansion was cutting spending, but never really looked at the tax side to spur the economy, they were opposed to such an irresponsible revenue-losing act, not understanding growth. Speaking of this, I was very heartened, Tyler, to see that the Freedom Caucus is going to put together kind of a first bid on a tax reform package. I'm hoping that the president and the Freedom Caucus are of a like mind on the major strokes here because it's time to get it on.
Absolutely. And, one of the things, Roger, that concerns me is with the media push in the 24-hour news cycle is particularly with, like, the health care, Obamacare repeal, but also with tax reform, is that they not be buffaloed and rushed into doing whatever the braying hyenas think should be done or on the timeline that it should be done. I mean, These schemes and scams that have been put in place by leftist Democrats over decades cannot be just unpacked overnight or in a few weeks or maybe a few months. So I hope they really just don't bow to that pressure to get something done, the get something done itis that infects Washington, establishment Washington, and they get it right, because this is such a huge, healthcare aside, the tax reform is so necessary, such a huge impact across the board, and obviously it's going to be the most contentious issue, and it should be worked through really well. I think a flat tax would be great. I think no income tax would be excellent. But
I think unfortunately, while I agree with you on at least some of that, I really doubt that the team around the president has that kind of a stomach for boldness. I want something that's bold that I can sell them. Cutting the corporate income tax is crucial. Get our corporate tax rate below that of China, Mexico, Japan. You'll have a job boom in this country like you have never seen, because overnight it will become more profitable and more efficient to do business in the United States, to hire here, to expand here. This is something we cannot let the establishment thinkers. Candidly, it bothers me that the president's chief economic advisor is a former chairman of Goldman Sachs and a liberal Democrat who most likely voted for Hillary Clinton.
Which, from a public relations perspective, does not bode well in terms of fighting back the notion that the corporatists are in charge at the White House behind the scenes, particularly when you're trying to cut the corporate income or corporate tax, I should say, because people obviously on the left are going to scream, you're in the bed with corporations, and which makes me laugh. Corporations are simply contracts amongst people. They give them personhood and so forth, but really it all comes down to people own corporations, people are corporations, and the taxation just bleeds through. It's just another way of taxing people. But at the same time, I think it's going to have to be very, very acutely explained why we want the corporate income tax cut, and why the larger effect, as you said, of job creation, of investment, and significant growth is going to be the benefit of that.
Well, you already see the Democrats. Taxes, cuts for the rich. Trump wants tax cuts for the rich. Well, the problem is that their definition of rich is anybody who owns their own business.
Yeah, it amazes me. They think they think everything that's a corporation is some multinational evil conglomerate out to rape the earth and destroy the world and fleece everyone. It's absurd. Just about every business you run into, mom and pop's local store, usually, for the ones that are left, are all LLCs or corporations or some type of corporate entity. And I say that as someone who's worked in corporate law for years.
Well, some disturbing signs out of the White House yesterday on the 420 front for those who were hoping that the president would stand by his pledge to respect states' rights when it comes to the issue of legalized marijuana in the states. The president put out an ominous message with his approval of the spending that included a rider by Dana Rohrabacher and others that would have forced the Justice Departments to stand down in the enforcement of federal laws against marijuana in the states where there has been some form of legalization. While the president didn't say what his administration would do, he kind of reserved his right to come back and crack down, which means that, unfortunately, Attorney General Sessions and the Homeland Security Secretary Kelly have been whispering that reefer madness nonsense in his ear.
But at the same time, though, Roger, he withdrew Tom Marino, Representative Tom Marino's name from consideration for drug czar. Excellent move. Also, that the Rohrabacher Farr Amendment, or whatever it is that Farr is going to believe, did pass. So there is zero funding for the Justice Department to enforce against legal states. And finally, he's also, as I understand it, they've gutted the budget for the drug czar office as well.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We've got a jam-packed show. Again, Cassandra Fairbanks, Mike Cernovich, Jacob Engels. I'm even going to try to track down my friend Alex Jones, who's been taking quite the beating. But he keeps on ticking, keeps on fighting, despite the mainstream media onslaught on him. You're with Roger Stone, Tyler Nixon, on the Stone Cold Truth. We'll be right back.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you...
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
That Donald J. Trump has been selected as the Republican Party nominee for President of the United States.
And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job. We will do a great job. And I can only say that while the campaign is over, our work on this movement is now really just beginning.
The Making of the President 2016. How Donald Trump orchestrated a revolution. Find out more at StoneColdTruth.com. StoneColdTruth.com.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Blockit Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockitPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockitPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockitPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Guys, are you tired of being tired? Frustrated because it seems impossible to lose belly fat? If you're looking for a solution, then listen to Mark.
I had fantastic results with the Andro 400 Max. Probably lost 35 pounds, and more impressive than that was the inches I lost off of my belly and my waist. And the increased energy is fantastic. I'll be totally honest, I tried a different product, and I wasn't happy with the different product. You guys are considerably cheaper than the other brand, and I can really feel the difference.
Andro 400 Max, the extra strength, all natural testosterone booster. The safe, easy, and affordable way to gain energy and lose stubborn belly fat. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Feel and look like a new man. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Yes. Why don't you ask me? You read about it in the Times.
Hi, this is Bernie Sanders. And believe me, I know you may not believe me, but you gotta believe me. In my opinion, I like the Stone Cold Truth, and I listen to it.
Thank you, Senator Bernie Sanders. You know, I live in the district of Deborah Wasserman Schultz, who the incredible documents released by WikiLeaks proved colluded with the Hillary Clintons to work over old Bernie and steal the nomination from him by cheating. A number of Republicans in this district have urged me to file for Congress in the race against Deborah Wasserman Schultz in an effort to use it as a platform to lay out her betrayal of the progressive left in that presidential contest. The filing deadline is got some time to go, so I promised a few friends I would ponder it. If I don't do this, and I'm not likely to, although you never rule these things out, I could support a candidate in that race. So, anyway,
I think you're more Senate material, Roger, to my mind.
It's always been my view. The white hair thing, kind of, the whole purpose of that is to look senatorial. You know, when I was much younger, the very first vote I ever cast was for independent U.S. Senate candidate Thomas J. Dodd. Dodd had been censured by the U.S. Senate for financial improprieties, which is outrageous because Dodd didn't do anything that every single member of the Senate was doing. But he was betrayed by his administrative assistant and an ex-mistress, and working together, they brought him down. In any event, he was a hardcore anti-communist, conservative Democrat, other than on the gun issue. And he was running in a three-way race against Lowell Weicker, a congressman, leftist, and the Reverend Joseph Duffy, an avowed Marxist. So anyway, the point of this is that Dodd's great asset was that he looked like a senator.
Correct. Well,
through his entire career, he had, he was very handsome. He had kind of a bold Roman nose. You could see the guy in a toga.
I wouldn't think the same of Chris Dodd, his son, Chris Dudd. But,
yeah, he's a bit. He moved left, and that is a pity. But the old man was, in fact, a great man and a great pal. It was like if you called Central Casting. There is a book on this. I think it's called "The Senator from Central Casting: The Story of Thomas J. Dodd." Came out about a year and a half ago. That is superb. I commend it. In any event, as you probably know, we heard from the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee and the House Intelligence Committee last week. My attorneys heard in letters from both of them, and we will certainly comply with any document requests based on the time frame of their requests. We are reviewing emails and other documents in our possession now. And as I've said repeatedly, I want to testify. I want to testify in public, because that's where Warner and Feinstein and Franken and Schiff and Spire and Swalwell and the guy from Connecticut who's so innocuous I can't remember his name, they all dumped on me in public. So I should have a chance to respond to their falsehoods and their disinformation, or perhaps they're just poorly informed. But I'm happy to straighten them out.
Well, it continued I was going to say, go ahead, Roger.
And it's the American way, Tyler. That's that's all just fundamentally fair. That's how we do things in America, isn't it?
Right. And it makes it impossible for them to manipulate your testimony, or to say something was said behind closed doors, or to staff that they can then distort the truth, because they're obviously willing to just stand up and repeat lies and fabricate charges against you. It occurred this week. I turn on the TV on my way out the door, and I see the Senate Judiciary Committee with James Comey testifying, and it was really, really terrible. I thought, hey, Comey's a real piece of work, I'll tell you. But Feinstein, Franken, they all repeated the whole Guccifer 2.0, and Roger Stone.
But the problem with that is that Senator Feinstein cannot say what she said during the day and then go on Fox at 6 o'clock with Wolf Blitzer and say there's no evidence of Russian collusion. Those are inconsistent. My exchange with Guccifer happens 6 weeks after the hacking and publication of the WikiLeaks documents. Secondarily, I've released all of it. It's innocuous. And thirdly, who in their right mind would collude on Twitter? My point being, based on timing, content, and circumstances, this does not rise to the level of Russian collusion. Secondarily, Guccifer is a Russian agent. Prove it. Don't keep just saying it's your assessment, because the word assessment is now known to everybody on the alt-right. When the intelligence agency use the word assessment, it means we don't know crap, or it means here's what we want you to think.
Yeah, let's face it, Roger.
Whether it is Pompeo on down, if Guccifer is in fact an agent, produce it. Some of your agents say that he left a Russian fingerprint on a burner. Not a chance. You're calling him a dummy now. He's a Romanian. There's nothing Russian in his speech pattern or the way he writes. He himself is clearly not a native Russian. You need him to be a Russian if you're the intelligence services, because that is the rationale. That is the legal reasoning they use behind the wiretaps on Trump Tower. And if it collapses, if all of the Russian collusion lie disappears, well, then you were monitoring Trump and his associates for political purposes, and that is a crime. And you use the U.S. government to do it, and that is a crime. If Bob Haldeman and John Ehrlichman can go to jail, yes, Valerie Jarrett and Susan Rice can go to jail too. See, no person is above the law, isn't what they told us under Nixon? I think it's important that the former president himself, appear before a grand jury. I want to know what he knew and when he knew it regarding Susan Rice's abuse of classified surveillance material that involved associates of Donald J. Trump. So I reiterate, I'm ready to testify, Tyler. I'm asking for no immunity, but we're not going to do this behind closed doors where my words can be misinterpreted, and we're not going to twist, things that are innocuous into something that is significant. Even factcheck.org, which is financed by the Annenberg Foundation, hardly a right-wing, appendage. Even their objective analysis of all of the claims regarding WikiLeaks and myself, or John Podesta's emails and myself, or Guccifer and myself, are without merit. They constitute nothing other than coincidence. Everything else is supposition or conjecture or projection, mostly by liberal Democrats. So, in any event, coming up with us, we got a little carried away here, but fortunately we are going to have a segment now with coming up shortly with Jacob Engels, boy journalist, 26 years old, a libertarian-oriented powerhouse, working out of Central Florida, breaking stories that the mainstream media here in Florida could never break and essentially ignore. But the real story today is not Jacob's fabulous investigative journalism and what he has learned and reported. It's what happened to him after he did so, and how the censorship campaign being run by the tech left, involving Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, put the kneecapping to Jacob Engels. Tyler? Any final thoughts?
I think that this young generation, on the left, you see a bunch of screechers out in the street. On the right side of the equation, you see guys like Jacob who are digging in and are articulate and are tenacious and are really going to expose it all in the end.
All right, we'll be right back with the Stone Cold Truth.
In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but that he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how and much more in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com. New York Times best-selling author Roger Stone brings you Nixon's Secrets. In Nixon's Secrets, Stone reveals how the Kennedys wiretapped Nixon's hotel room the night before the Nixon-Kennedy debate and stole Nixon's medical records from his psychiatrist's office. Stone lays out how Kennedy's running mate Lyndon Johnson stole Texas from JFK through voter fraud, while Mayor Richard Daley stole Illinois, and how JFK actually lost the popular vote. Get Nixon's Secrets today at stonecoldtruth.com.
This is Michael David from Seattle. I'm 51 years old, and 6 months ago, I started taking Andro 400 to increase my testosterone. Since then, I've lost 35 pounds of fat, and my waist went from size 38 to size 32. I have more energy, and I look and feel 20 years younger. And now my wife tells me I have to take Andro 400.
Hi, this is Ron Johnson from Utah. After 10 weeks of taking Andro 400, I lost 13 pounds, and my waist went from 36 to 33. That was 8 years ago. I continue to take Andro 400, and I've maintained my weight at 172, gained muscle and energy. I'm 63 now and feel better than I have in 30 years.
Andro 400, the natural way to increase testosterone, lose belly fat, gain energy, and feel great. Try Andro 400, the safe, effective, affordable way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
Warning, if you've recently declared bankruptcy, you're going to want to cover your ears. Because there's an alternative to bankruptcy, and it could be better than you'd ever think possible. But if you've already declared bankruptcy and have missed this opportunity, you'll want to cover your ears now. Here it is. Right now, the company that has resolved more credit card debt than anyone in the U.S. may be able to settle your debt too. You could resolve your debt with one low monthly program payment. If you call right now and qualify, Freedom Debt Relief will show you how low your monthly program payment could be for free. Call now, 1-800-660-1297. That's 1-800-660-1297. If you're struggling with debt, this could be your answer. And the bigger your debt, the more money you could save. To find out for free how much of your hard-earned money Freedom Debt Relief could help you save, call now, 1-800-660-1297. 1-800-660-1297. 1-800-660-1297.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by, making minimum payments? You should know the credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people they're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan. You have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Reduce a large portion of your debt now. Call National Debt Relief at 800-314-7417. 800-314-7417. That's 800-314-7417.
This is Bill Clinton, and you're about to enter the world of the Stone Cold Truth.
Well, there he is. Former President William Jefferson Clinton giving us a nice warm-up there today.
Bubba?
Sorry if we had a little bit of fumbling. We do have the journalist Jacob Engels on the line. I was on the phone trying to find my friend Gary Marks, see if I could get him to call in so we could say we had Marks and Engels, but it didn't work out. In any event, Jacob Engels is, as I said earlier, the publisher and sole proprietor of the Central Florida Post, formerly the East Orlando Post, and he has a distinguished, even if relatively brief, he's 26 years old, career as an investigative journalist. He has recently broke a number of stories regarding corruption in the local county treasurer in, I guess that was, Seminole County. Is that correct, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
All right. And he had more recently broke a major story regarding Rollins College here in Florida. Jacob Engels, welcome to the Stone Cold Truth.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Rollins College was a huge story for us. We had a Muslim and Islamist professor, radical ties to terror groups, a lot of these groups that will accept money as donations and then be funneled back to Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. And she got into an argument with a Christian student in class, and after that, she was issuing revenge grades, filing false police reports, court records. It was a total mess, and the school was working at every step to cover it up, and we were really glad to expose that. It's another example of how the academia, the world of academia, is firmly against conservative or libertarian thought.
So, Jacob, let me ask you, when you broke this story, I'm assuming the Orlando Sentinel and the other regional media jumped right on and began to cover it, correct?
Absolutely not. What they did is they waited and they waited and they waited, and eventually they came out in defense of the school and labeled me as fake news, which we all know the left loves to do with anything they disagree with. And right after that, Snopes labeled our article and our very, very well-researched reporting as false, based entirely on one source, the Orlando Sentinel, which was an opinion column.
Tyler, you're an attorney. Doesn't he have a lawsuit against Snopes? Tyler?
Radio, sorry about that. But no, he really doesn't, in the sense that he's reporting facts and they're being disputed. If it was personal defamation, it's another story. But certainly that's he can rebut and they can take it apart piece by piece, whatever. That's the thing with Snopes, is they have been set up as these arbiters, as the as the credible source to evaluate information, and they're garbage. They're leftist fronts.
First of all, I think that Snopes is three guys with Coke bottle glasses sitting in front of old laptops in some room somewhere.
You're close. I think it's a husband and wife, really, and that's it.
Yeah, well, I wonder how they would. I wonder how they would do with a lawsuit, because they have. I think they've defamed Jacob Engels. That's my view.
Well, we can discuss that at another date, but I mean, certainly, it's all part of the fake media, the fake news, the front that has been set up and put in place to effectively attempt to take stories like Jacob's, which is, as he said, very meticulously chronicled and documented, and to just simply, because if you've ever gotten into an argument with any sort of leftist on any type of forum online, immediately you inevitably get the Snopes.com reference if it's some sort of a story that's relatively outrageous, however true, and that they don't want to accept as reality. So Snopes is the old go-to.
Snopes is the fake news, and it's just a question of
it's the rubber stamp validation of the fake news.
They're using it though as they're using it as the foundation for their shadow banning, their search filtering, their social justice warrior puppets, their troll bots, their fake news flagging, their throttling. We know exactly what they're doing. You know why? Because it's actionable. Because it violates the trust laws of the United States of America.
Well, it all comes back to the original National Socialist propaganda arm from Goebbels and them. The big lie. The more people repeat it, the more you can replicate it, it'll eventually become true.
But to think that you're going to own the only communications network other than the old-fashioned broadcast TV and radio in the United States, that there'll be no alternatives, or that our people aren't technologically smarter than yours and will figure out the way to end your censorship campaign and build even greater platforms, and the fact that we're ready to take to the streets for our rights if that's what it takes. I mean, I watched the way civil disobedience and nonviolent strikes paralyzed Paris in 1968. Students and workers. There's a model there. You're not going to take away our First Amendment rights. So anyway, Jacob, now you had, as I recall, another enormous story involving George Soros. Tell us about that.
Sure. Mr. Soros, as he did quite often in the 2016 election, sent a lot of money to a local candidate for state attorney in Orange and Osceola counties, Aramis Ayala. And Ms. Ayala received $1.3 million from Soros, which effectively put her over the top in the primary without even having to go to the general election. So she wins after the political patronage of George Soros. And shortly after that, a group is sent money from the Open Philanthropy Project, Soros-connected group. They send money, a no-process grant, which is a discretionary fund, to another group in Florida, which then miraculously hires the ex-felon husband of the state attorney. And after that, emails are leaked and exposed showing that the state attorney was receiving talking points and coaching from a very high-level PR firm and group out in California about her decision to not charge the death penalty. And that's a thing that Mr. Soros has been very, very supportive of. He does not want death penalty anywhere. And so it's all been exposed that George Soros has continued his support of this lady past the election with free services to an elected official from these high-level firms, a job for her ex-felon husband who was working at Sprint beforehand. And after I published that story, I started getting emails from George Soros' PR guy in New York telling me, you need to take the story down, retract it, remove it, it's false. Mr. Soros is not connected to these groups. You must take it down. And I responded and said, you can answer these 5 questions I have about his involvement locally, or he can submit an op-ed. That's how this is going to go down. And they refused. I had no comment. And that's where we stand right now.
So, again, I'm sure the local media there picked up the story and went with it big time, right?
They dropped the ball again. They have been very, very bad about reporting this aspect of the Soros connection.
And what happened to
really
your Facebook and online posts regarding this story?
Yeah, just like with the Rollins story, as soon as there was pushback either from Snopes, Sentinel, and in this case, Mr. Soros, all of a sudden, when you enter very specific search terms to Facebook, to Twitter, our content is disappeared. It's nowhere to be seen. So it's all part of that methodical campaign. They label you fake news. They push your content down, even if your content has more shares than the content they want people to see. And it's all really a scam on free speech, and it's gross.
It's incredibly diabolical.
All right, so that I think you have what we tried to do today, a graphic example of how the campaign to kneecap the First Amendment, to end free press in America, the censorship campaign being guided by third-party trolls like Media Matters for America and Snopes, are trying to destroy our ability to communicate with each other. We'll be back with the lovely Cassandra Fairbanks on the Stone Cold Truth, so stand by.
Listen to what Dave Ryan says about Andro 400.
Andro 400, I really love it. It's amazing to me that I feel so good. I've lost 50 pounds. I was a size 38 waist. I've gone down to a 32 waist. My mood has changed. I don't get stressed out. It gave me so much more energy to walk, energy to play sports. Everything is starting to work again, and feels like I'm 25. My wife is happy. I'm so happy. I'm just a completely different man. I'm taking this stuff to the grave with me.
Men, have you lost energy and gained belly fat? Are you feeling stressed out? Fight back with Andro 400, the safe, natural, and inexpensive way to increase your testosterone. For over a decade, Andro 400 has helped men lose belly fat, gain energy, and feel 20 years younger. Go to andro400.com. andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's MyPillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
Be
prepared for the next disaster with the Shelter Pod. The Shelter Pod is a large, all-season, heavy-duty, quick-deploy shelter. The Shelter Pod system can be set up in 30 seconds and includes an emergency medical kit, water filter, survival tools, and more. Are you prepared to take care of your family? Do you have everything in one place ready to go? Get it now or enter to win a complete Shelter Pod system at shelterpod.com. The Shelter Pod at shelterpod.com. Shelter when you need it most.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Are you drowning in debt? Are you struggling to make minimum payments? If this sounds like you, know that it's not your fault. Credit card debt happens to good people. We've helped thousands of good people just like you become debt-free with our Debt Reset program. Our Debt Reset program is customized to get you debt-free in as little as 24 to 48 months with one low monthly payment. You don't pay a dime until we succeed. Call now to see how we can work for you. 800-912-6177. That's 800-912-6177. Again, 800-912-6177.
Hi, this is former President Jimmy Carter. Rosalind and I like the Stone Cold Truth because, like me, Roger Stone always tells the truth.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth. I'm your host, Roger Stone. Here riding along with me is Tyler Nixon, and now we are joined by the ravishing and most popular journalist, Cassandra Fairbanks. For those of you who aren't in the know, she is a social media star, one of the MVPs in the election of Donald J. Trump. And she visited the White House recently, and incredibly, she was accused, along with our comrade Mike Cernovich, of making secret white supremacist hand signs. Cassandra, tell us. Welcome to the Stone Zone. Welcome to the Stone Zone. You're here at the Stone Cold Truth. Tell us what went down.
Well, thank you for that lovely intro. Basically, me and Mike Cernovich went to the White House. We took a photo doing the OK hand sign. Basically the same thing that, Milo did, that Lucian Wintrich from Gateway Pundit had done. And we figured that people would be a little upset about it, be like, what are they doing here? But I didn't expect to be labeled a white supremacist in an article that got shared 40,000 times.
But from your point of view, this hand sign signified what? See, I kind of stick to the Nixon V. That's kind of my
Well, when Trump
thing.
Is speaking, whenever he's making a point,
yes,
he does the OK sign.
Right.
And so he'll be making a point. And so we kind of all picked it up and started doing it because Trump does it. It's the same.
It's like early in the campaign, we used to have a saying. We would always say everything was huge.
Yeah.
Y-U-G-E. The president kind of left that one behind, but from 2012 to 2016, everything he attempted was going to be and was huge. And we used it as a hashtag, Y-U-G-E. How did you respond to this hit piece?
Well, I emailed them and I demanded a retraction. They did not. I told them to take down the photo, which they eventually did, but we're going to be suing them for defamation and for libel at this point because even after the Anti-Defamation League came out and said that that is not a symbol for white supremacy, they didn't update the article for like 2 days. So it got shared by like 10,000 more people, and they were corrected. The article was fake. It was wrong, and it was a lie. And they waited days to even like issue the tiny little retraction at the bottom that they even put up.
So it is obviously part and parcel the mainstream media smear of anybody who stands up to the two-party duopoly and the corrupt political establishment that is ignoring the dangers of Islamic terrorism, that is eroding our civil liberties and civil rights by the day, spending and borrowing us into oblivion. But, I mean, literally dissipating our increasingly scarce national resources in a series of endless foreign wars in which the inherent interests of the United States are not apparent or even there. Tyler?
Well, I'm just intrigued actually by the filing of a defamation suit against them, because this could really, I think, ultimately, we can't seem to stop. They obviously have no concern for what is actual truth, what is factually correct, or what reputational damage they might do to anybody who comes out. And this is just a frontal sort of they took it on themselves to attack Cassandra and Mike Cernovich. It was not as though they put themselves out there in any way other than just a picture taken of them. And they're accused of being white supremacists. It's totally insane.
But I'm encountering the same thing. I have several members of Congress saying I'm a Russian agent, but they have congressional immunity, so they can kick the crap out of my reputation, not afford me a chance to respond, and I can't sue.
Yeah, they didn't even reach out to me for comment.
They're a protected class. In this case, these are alleged journalists accusing two freedom fighters, in my opinion, of being white supremacists when they are not, and equating some hand signal. I don't even know who's the arbiter of this. Who would come up with such an idea? I noticed people, many people at Milo's party last night. I probably posed for 9 million selfies, and many people were using this sign because it evokes the president. It's a homage, president's truth-telling.
Yeah, or just like the rest of the sane world, it means okay. I mean,
yes.
So well, I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see if Cassandra and others begin to file defamation suits and let these people know that you can't just defame people. You cannot just run loose with lies and with distortions that against just anybody, because I think it'll really test the definition of public figure by which the standard is raised for defamation, where it has to be reckless disregard for the truth or willful wanton conduct. In this case, it seems like reckless disregard for the truth, or just an attempt to smear somebody and paint them up as a white supremacist. And then, of course, the slow reaction to fix it. True journalists would fall all over themselves saying, well, we're very sorry, but we didn't mean to report that. They would apologize, they would retract, they would update, they would, and so forth. The fact of their slowness and unwillingness to correct it indicates exactly their motives behind it, which is exactly what Cassandra is suing them for, to defame them. To defame Mike and Cassandra.
Cassandra and I were at a terrific party last night. You are in Denver, and of course we're in an undisclosed location in South Florida. You can't see how luminescent Cassandra looks here in the studio.
Thank you.
Considering how much we both had to drink last night, it's fairly amazing.
I'm hurting.
But Milo had an extraordinary party, and the best thing about it was that it was overwhelmingly young people. And sure, they want to have their selfie taken with you, but they also have questions. They want to talk about issues, immigration, trade. Jared Kushner, for whom Milo named his snake, which was kind of cool. I am going to be putting out a new T-shirt shortly that says, "I love Donald, but I didn't vote for Jared Kushner." What did you find as a sense last night overall about how Trump is doing, what he needs to do better?
Well, I think Trump is doing a decent job. A lot of us have had concerns over Syria, his comments about WikiLeaks.
Very concerning.
The WikiLeaks stuff is definitely concerning, especially if he doesn't plan to go after other publications that are publishing leaks. Because, I mean, Julian Assange isn't the leaker. He's a publisher.
He's a journalist.
He's also real news, not fake news.
Yeah, no one has yet to ever say that anything he's put forward was not real, was fabricated or counterfeited, or wasn't a real email. But that's why the entire left seeks to distract us on the wild goose chase of how he got it. Right now the Reuters news service has a number of my emails. How did they get them? I know I was hacked. It was written by WorldNet Daily at the time. I didn't realize at the time the likely hacker was the federal government. So we're in this crazy era of new McCarthyism where if you're not for war with the Russians over Syria, you must be a secret Russian agent. Not recognizing that I cut my teeth in politics on anti-communism. I hate the Russian system. It hasn't changed. They oppress gays and women and Jews and Christians. It's a rotten, corrupt, totalitarian system. But I do think we ought to talk to them before we go to nuclear war. That's
Cassandra,
really what I think.
I have a quick question. Just, I think that in your generation, it breaks down into people who are very hardcore about their politics, and then I think there's a lot of, not necessarily apathy, but people who stand to the side and are not politically involved. And I'm curious what, amongst your friends, your network that's not politically aligned per se on either side, how is this playing out? Do you get feedback? The whole thing, the Trump presidency, that's sort of a litmus very much to what's really bleeding through, I think.
I mean, my friends and relatives who aren't very political are generally not happy with the Trump presidency so far, I think. But mostly, I mostly know liberals. My town went 97% for Hillary Clinton. So,
good Lord, you need to move.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I think one of the problems here is I think maybe, Tyler, many activists, many of in this revolution thought that the opposition to Trump, the attempts to first undermine him, destabilize him, and now co-opt him would just stop on Election Day and he would wave a wand and everything would be wonderful. I wish it worked that way. We have quislings inside the fort. We always have had. This is very much like the Reagan administration. There were true-believing Reaganites around Reagan, and then there were those who were establishment Republicans. And they spent 8 years trying to water down Reaganism, and on some issues they succeeded. But not on tax reduction, for example, where we won that fight. We're going to have fights inside the Trump administration. We have establishment Republican quislings in our midst, and they have to be beat back. Thank you for Cassandra Fairbanks joining us. Tyler Nixon will be back on the Stone Cold Truth. Don't go away.
The Stone Cold Truth. We're on this lovely Saturday, May 6, 2017, which is the 80th anniversary, I believe, of the explosion and fiery crash of the Hindenburg. For those of you who are Zeppelin enthusiasts, in Lakehurst, New Jersey. Roger, you remember that, right? You were there, weren't you?
I was actually very active in Youth for Coolidge at that time.
Well, we have joining us who is a little bit hurting this morning from last night's amazing, apparently, that I keep hearing about, party thrown by Milo Yiannopoulos in Florida. And Cassandra Fairbanks, welcome back. Welcome to the Stone Cold Truth. Good to have you with us. How you feeling?
Thanks for having me.
Cassandra, would you agree that the highlight of last night's party was when Jack Posobiec was literally kind of body surfing? After he jumped in like mosh pit style into the crowd, he was body surfing, being held up by 1,000 libertarian hands. It was the high point of the evening. This is why they call him Jumping Jack Flash.
I'm curious, Stone, and I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cassandra.
It's between that and the parade of strippers with giant guns.
They had both male and female strippers, but all of them had AK-47s, and they were all quite real.
Well, Milo knows how to do the outrageous for sure. I'm sure he'll make waves with this new company he's putting together. I think it's coming at the right time. There's a lot of good talent out there like Cassandra who should hit the road and start really gathering the forces and making it known that we are a movement. That,
we were driving down from the undisclosed location in South Florida where I live to Milo's party, and my lovely Latina wife said to me, what do you think Milo will wear? And I said, who knows? He could come dressed as Marilyn Monroe.
Well, that leads to my question. What were you wearing, Stone?
I actually wore this incredible multicolored chip jacket from the 1960s that is in I guess it's the Manhattan Institute of Fashion Museum. I, of course, bought mine in a thrift shop many years ago, but it's a stunning kind of hard to describe. It's kind of like a sunburst, but it's still within the confines of preppy style, and of course a pair of khakis and a button-down shirt and a club tie, which featured a martini glass on it.
The only thing that beats that is that Madras patchwork blazer you have. I love that thing, Roger.
There should be a law requiring every well-dressed gentleman to own one, but then we wouldn't look distinctive, I guess. Anyway, Cassandra has a wonderful outfit on tonight, kind of like a shift. And for someone who's obviously in some pain, it looks very comfortable.
Thanks. It is. Halston Heritage, they make good dresses.
Yeah. Well, and Halston, as I said earlier, is like Milo. You no longer have to have a last name. When you say Milo, everybody knows who you're talking about.
True.
So, Tyler, I'm going to turn this over to you. You, I think, correctly realize that journalists like Cassandra and Jacob Engels, for that matter, are the wave of the future. That was the coolest thing about the party last night. So many young, true believers, articulate, intelligent, enormous energy. And I say, again, as I said on InfoWars yesterday, if you have a Twitter feed, if you have a Facebook feed, if you're on Instagram or Snapchat, you're an army of one. Get out there and blog, baby. You see a story by Cassandra you like, retweet it. Let the world know it. Shorten it if you have to, but get it out there. And that's true of InfoWars, Stone Cold Truth, StoneZone.com, which has been newly relaunched with a little bit of a facelift still in the works. But they are where this movement is headed.
Yeah, it's very interesting to note, Roger, you and I pretty much came up in a world in which we had the three major news networks. Then CNN came on the scene. I mean, you had really single-point sources of information. There was always the constant sort of narrative. I was watching, this is what I do in my spare time, I was watching the C-SPAN's redux that I'd recorded of the Tower Commission basically report that came out on Iran-Contra, and I was watching, the reactions of the congressmen and senators, and I was doing it more not, to really learn about the Tower Commission report as much to gauge what it was like back then, how different it is than it is today, and how much.
It's funny because I saw that video, but I tuned in for a completely different reason. I wanted to see what Senator John Tower was wearing. Because he
always wore that pinstripe, that blue pinstripe.
All of his suits were made in Savile Row, and he was a diminutive fellow, as you may or may not know. He was probably only about 5'3".
5'2", yeah,
5'2", 5'3". There's a famous story in which J.J. Pickle, a congressman from Texas, a big burly rumpled man, said, "Wow, John, that's a good-looking suit. What would it cost in a man's size?"
Oh man, yeah. I think McCain probably got cracks like that. He's not that tall of a guy either. But yeah, it was interesting to me to hear these guys and the way they would speak. And frankly, I hate to say it in today's context. Everything is so fast and fleeting that you don't get as much substance as you used to in politicians who would speak. Not that politicians have probably gotten any worse or better. They're still ultimately behind the scenes what they are. But at the same time, I'm curious, we had those single point sources. Now it's like millions of sources. And how do you discriminate, Cassandra? How do you decide where to go? I mean, I know there's certain, you have affiliated networks and there's sort of a bias confirmation draw there. But where do you go for your news? Do you have a single, go ahead.
Well, I follow journalists. I don't really follow outlets. So I'll find people that I like, and then I'll follow their work no matter where they put it. I don't really follow I'm going to go read The Hill or whatever.
Right.
just don't do that. I guess I follow the journalists on Twitter and get their work that way. I basically avoid anything overly liberal. Like this week, we just broke a story on big league politics. We had BuzzFeed reporters talking in a leaked Slack that they wanted Donald Trump to be assassinated. So, I mean, I'm not going to read their stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I like what she is. For example, I follow. You spoke earlier of the von Hindenburg. I follow Ben Smith of BuzzFeed. I have to assume after seeing him on with Tucker Carlson that he's in some kind of a weight gaining contest.
I never heard of him before that, but I mean, yeah,
BuzzFeed and the Daily Beast are in a class by themselves. This is the epitome of fake news. They go out of their way to use unflattering graphics and photos. They get almost everything wrong. I now have a policy. I won't take a call from a daily news reporter. When folks like Gideon Resnick call me, I have to politely decline. When I went to meet with President-elect Trump, there were 4 reporters saw me go up the elevator. I had an impromptu press stand-up, but he wrote, Stone said he met with President Trump. So, no, sorry. I'm not going to respond to, I'll respond to real news organizations, but Daily Beast is not one.
Right.
It's a propaganda arm. It's a poorly written, not very well trafficked, failing propaganda arm.
Well, I like
not clever, not smart, not chic. The stuff you write at Daily Beast, it's just stupid.
President Trump called it a failing pile of garbage. I'm sorry, I still laugh when I hear
that was BuzzFeed, but he
was
that
it?
Right. Yeah, he got that right.
Yeah. Well, whether they like it or not, the statists, the collectivists are stuck now with a very libertarian media world, in the sense that it's very individualized and people are empowered to put out their content and to speak their truth without being filtered through the centralized propaganda arms that we've been dealing with for half a century at minimum. Cassandra,
you want to wrap this up with about a minute left? Tell us what you see. What are you going to be doing in the next 3 days?
I have left Sputnik News, and I'm going to be writing for Big League Politics. I'll probably have something up about the party later today. Mm-hmm. Tonight, we're all going out again, so I will be in rough shape again tomorrow.
Hair of the dog.
Your colleagues at the Big League Politics, who else is over there? Isn't that where Patrick Howley is?
Yeah, we have.
He's a very good man, Patrick Howley. He is one of the greatest, smartest crusading journalists. He's got a great grounding in the Kennedy assassination. I love Patrick Howley, and I see you're doing great things at Big League, so I congratulate you for going there.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, Mike Cernovich is coming up. Cassandra, thank you for joining us. You're listening to The Stone Cold Truth, Roger Stone and Tyler Nixon. Do not go away.
We use cell phones against our heads every day, but now a landmark U.S. government study confirms increased health risks from exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The time to protect yourself is now. The solution is Defender Shield. Proudly made in the USA, Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation emitted from cell phones, tablets, and laptops. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. Use discount code DEFENDER for 10% off. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in EMF radiation protection.
New York Times best-selling author Roger Stone brings you Nixon's Secrets. In Nixon's Secrets, Stone reveals how the Kennedys wiretapped Nixon's hotel room the night before the Nixon-Kennedy debate and stole Nixon's medical records from his psychiatrist's office. Stone lays out how Kennedy's running mate, Lyndon Johnson, stole Texas from JFK through voter fraud, while Mayor Richard Daley stole Illinois, and how JFK actually lost the popular vote. Get Nixon's Secrets today at StoneColdTruth.com. Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you Nixon's Secrets. Nixon's Secrets shows how Hillary Clinton was fired from the 1974 Nixon Impeachment Committee staff for lying and violating Nixon's rights, and how Hillary tried unsuccessfully to block Nixon from the Clinton White House. No wonder Nixon, upon meeting Hillary for the first time, said, "She's cold, cold as ice." Find out more at StoneColdTruth.com.
Do you know what's lurking in your water? More than 200 contaminants could be sitting there, just waiting for your glass. With a ProPure water filter, start enjoying clean and great-tasting water today. ProPure filters, independently tested, latest water filter technology. ProPure systems do not require electricity and are easy to set up and easy to use. To find out more, visit your authorized ProPure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNTelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNTelecare.com, virtual care anywhere.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Hi, this is Bernie Sanders. And believe me, I know you may not believe me, but you gotta believe me. In my opinion, I like the Stone Cold Truth, and I listen to it.
All right. This is Roger Stone, your host, broadcasting from the Stone Zone here at the Stone Cold Truth. Our thanks again to the lovely Cassandra Fairbanks. And joining us now is a journalist for whom I have enormous respect, who's been out there on the front lines in the fight for freedom, in the war against censorship, working with our mutual friend Alex Jones at Infowars.com. Mike Cernovich joins us. You with us, Mike?
I don't think we have Mike on the line yet.
All right, so we have a technical.
He's out slaying liberal dragons somewhere.
All right, we will try to track him down and begin this. In the meantime,
Go ahead.
I was
going to say, what do you, Roger, the healthcare repeal this week? It's this is where I think, just at least from strictly from a media perspective, from a narrative perspective, where they just ultimately you're going to, and similarly with the Russian investigation, where the screeching, squealing, odious, rapacious left is going to constantly fail because they set themselves up for it with this, oh, they didn't repeal it, it's over, or that, you're involved with Russians and so forth. And the truth comes out and they just keep getting knocked down. And it's like they, as I said, I think with tax reform similarly, they keep projecting. They want to project the truth that they want to be, or they want to project what they want to be to the truth. And it ends up being debunked by reality, as President Trump got this through finally, something through at least, and like the details to be dealt with later, I guess. But Paul Ryan, this horrible failure, and Trump's defeat and so forth. Weeks later, they pass it right out of the House, and as President Trump said, more unity within the party generally. And this is where I think Donald Trump will just outshine every predecessor in recent memory, perhaps save maybe Reagan. and to a lesser extent Bill Clinton, who really rolled their sleeves up, got in there, and has personal appeal to individual congressmen, is willing to go down, is willing to make, he really does know how to run an operation that brings people in and brings them together and makes them feel part of it.
But at the same time, a landmark New Yorker piece yesterday about the fact that there is now a real, genuine effort that involves liberal Democrats and presumably some establishment Republicans to have President Trump declared insane under the 25th Amendment and to replace him as President of the United States, and failing that, to impeach him for essentially the same alleged reasons. They don't understand that his idiosyncratic leadership style is what he is. They said that Theodore Roosevelt was an egomaniac, a lightweight, a numbskull, a self-promoter, a hothead, and he turned out to be one of our greatest presidents.
Bill Clinton was a serial sex predator, and they're questioning Trump's mental state. Honestly,
yeah, that is, you raised
George W. Bush appeared almost like he had mental issues, like he was half retarded or drunk or on drugs at many press conferences. It's absurd. This is how low they've sunk. This is how ridiculous they are. And again, it's entirely predictable. That's how panicky they are about his presidency. That's how hysterical they are about the fact that he could bring real fundamental change to Washington, and it screws up the globalists' plans. They want to continue sucking this country dry, as they have done successfully for the last 30 years with the complicity of the Bushes and the Clintons. By the way, this is probably a good time to mention that my book, co-written with the great St. John Hunt, The Bush Crime Family, now in paperback, now in the Barnes & Noble stores, available at Amazon. This is the definitive expose on the Bushes, starting with Prescott Bush, the patriarch who made his big money arming the Nazis, financing the Nazi war machine, major proponent of eugenics. That's essentially the extermination of poor people and black people. And, of course, it goes through George H.W. Bush and his tenure trafficking cocaine for the CIA, through Mena, Arkansas, the strange circumstances surrounding the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. We go into the malfeasance as president of George W. Bush, Jeb Bush's days as a drug dealer, and right to the current day story of George P. Bush, the railroad commissioner in Texas who would be governor and would be president. So I urge you to grab that. Tyler, if you haven't seen the updated version, I think you're going to love this book. Well, not forgetting also the background of George H.W. Bush's mention by J. Edgar Hoover as someone who was involved and on the ground, not involved in per se, but he was referenced within a high-level memo from Hoover on the Kennedy assassination, the assassination of President Kennedy. And George Bush being one of only two people that we know on the face of the earth who can't remember where he was, or doesn't have a straight story about where he was when he heard the news of President Kennedy's assassination. And, he was involved. He was one person who straddled all those worlds: the CIA, the anti-Castro Cubans, the Eastern establishment. He was Texas to a lesser extent. In fact, I recall seeing something recently where George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, was one of the only Republicans, or that we knew, prominent Republicans, who saw Lyndon Johnson off when in 1969, right after the inauguration of President Nixon. He went and said he thought it was the right thing to do to go see this crooked, amoral psychopath off to his retirement in Texas with two plane loads of stolen loot from the White House.
That story has a great kicker, as you probably know, Tyler, because George H.W. Bush was always patronizing and trying to aggrandize himself and ingratiate himself with LBJ with the view of winning a U.S. Senate seat, hoping that LBJ would help lead the Bourbon Democrats over to Bush. In 1970, he was wooing Johnson, asked him if he should even run for the Senate. And Johnson said yes. Then Johnson double-crossed Bush by getting a former congressman named Lloyd Benson to enter the Democratic primary, where he defeated left-wing Democrat Ralph Yarborough, the incumbent. And then LBJ had John Connally cut TV endorsement ads referencing how he and former President Johnson supported Benson in the general election against Bush, thus scuttling Bush's book. All that brown-nosing, all that tail-kissing out the window.
No honor amongst those snakes, for sure. And, of course, years later, Lloyd Benson went on during Bush's first his first run as the Republican nominee in 1988, went on to embarrass the living hell out of his vice presidential nominee with a "Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy" line, and really exposed Quayle for what he was, which was a lightweight and just a flunky who Bush could control, and someone who wouldn't give him any problems, as Bush did to Reagan and as vice president, interestingly. So, Roger, the man who killed Kennedy, the case against LBJ, since you mentioned the Bush book, I again commend that to all the listeners if you haven't read that one. An amazing book. Really, Johnson is just, it's epic what a criminal this man was, and the fact that he is not denounced in history.
I'm reminded of a story, since you mentioned Dan Quayle. I was in New Orleans for that convention, and seconds after Quayle was named as VP, I got a message to call former President Nixon in New York immediately. I got to a phone, I called him, and he said, "My God, is Bush out of his mind?" Anyway, you're here on the Stone Cold Truth. I'm with Tyler Nixon, who's going to go to court shortly and change his name to Trick E. Dick Nixon. And you're at the right place, right here in the Stone Zone.
Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you...
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
That Donald J. Trump has been selected as the Republican Party nominee for President of the United States.
And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job. We will do a great job. And I can only say that while the campaign is over, our work on this movement is now really just beginning.
The Making of the President 2016. How Donald Trump orchestrated a revolution. Find out more at StoneColdTruth.com. StoneColdTruth.com.
I'm Chris Walls, and I'm a truck driver from Missouri. For 13 hours a night, I sit in my truck and I drive. Out of boredom, I'll stop and eat. If I'm not doing fast food, I guarantee there's a bag of chips open on my dashboard. That was all until Andro 400. I started out 4 months ago, and since taking Andro 400, I have dropped 45 pounds. I'm sleeping better. There's no cravings. I actually don't even think about food. My knee pain went away. I've had some lower back issues, and I've noticed that went away, and I can only contribute that to Andro 400. One thing that Andro 400 said on the radio ad is it attacks belly fat. Well, let me tell you, it did. The second month is where I saw a drastic change in the size of my stomach. I've lost 6 inches. This product really does work.
So guys, if you'd like to experience similar results, then get Andro 400, the safe, natural, and inexpensive way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
Hey, diabetics. Yeah, you. Got a spare hour to waste going to the pharmacy to get your insulin or other meds and supplies every month? I didn't think so. Me either. I've got life going on, which is why I use PillPack. PillPack is an amazing online pharmacy. They package up all my diabetic meds and testing supplies into daily doses and send it to me every month, automatically. All I do is pay my normal copay. PillPack does the rest. I'm serious. This is a free service. They don't even charge for shipping. PillPack handles all the medical insurance stuff and even get with my doctors for my other prescriptions so I don't have to, which is good because that's the stuff I forget. But PillPack remembers everything. They even package up my daily vitamins so I remember to take them too. If you're diabetic, your meds and supplies are life and death, which means you need PillPack. Call right now for this free service. You may even qualify for $25 in free vitamins. 800-560-7310. That's 800-560-7310. Again, 800-560-7310.
Hi there, I'm Bob Eubanks. You know, as part of Hollywood for a long time, I've seen my fair share of celebrities get in trouble with the IRS. Well, there's one name I trust, the Tax Defense Group. They're the most trusted name in tax. So if you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS, you really need to call my friends at the Tax Defense Group. Ignoring the IRS is not the solution. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, seize your home or business. But the Tax Defense Group could put a stop to all of that and tailor a program that would reduce your tax debt to pennies on the dollar. You gotta love that. So don't just take my word for it. Call them. Find out for yourself. They offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And they're open 24 hours a day because they know that tax debt doesn't sleep either.
Call now for your free and confidential tax analysis from the most trusted name in tax. Call 800-361-6907. 800-361-6907.
This is Bill Clinton, and you're about to enter the world of the Stone Cold Truth.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth. I'm Roger Stone with my co-host Tyler Nixon, and joining us now is an independent journalist for whom I have enormous respect, one of my brothers in the fight against internet censorship and to take on the two-party duopoly and the political establishment that continues to ignore the dangers of Islamic terrorism and seeks to silence anyone who does understand those dangers. Mike Cernovich joins us now. Mike, welcome to the Stone Cold Truth.
Well, that seems like we just had him. I don't know.
Well,
what
we have air. The NSA did this to us yesterday. Maybe they're doing it to us again.
The deep
maybe
state strikes again.
Maybe they don't want this summit for the truth, but we will wait for Mike to call back in. Tyler, have you seen this Twitter shadow ban list? The list of those who are essentially, being handicapped, or I should say kneecapped on Twitter?
I have
it's
not
extraordinary.
Yet. In fact, I'm pulling it up right now. Who published it or who revealed it, or is it?
This was evidently a leaked document. First came out of the Tea Party movement in Tennessee, where somebody there obtained it and explains how it works. In essence, they use a filter and they bring up certain code words. And then when it goes to, if it's a person's relatively low priority, within 15 to 20 seconds, once it's run through the buzzwords, it gets deleted. If it's high profile, it may take some manual approval. But your impressions are reduced with a limited capacity, which is why you see less and less of your retweets. It's not going out to as many people as it used to.
Yeah.
Limiting impressions means less people seeing tweets in their regular news feeds. Ironically, WikiLeaks and Goosefer 2.0 are not on the list, but everybody else I know is. Juanita Broderick is here, the actor John Voight, Betsy DeVos, obviously Alex Jones, the Stone Cold Truth, Roger J. Stone Jr., Stone Zone, Prison Planet, Dr. Jerome Corsi, my friend James O'Keefe III, Project Veritas, Stefan Molyneux, Jack Posobiec of Rebel Media, Zero Hedge, DC Leaks, Mike Savage. The list goes on. Danny Williams, Lou Rockwell. This is mind blowing.
It's a disgrace, and I said it last week about Google. These folks are playing with fire because, first of all, Stefan Molyneux alluded to the possibility of a shareholder suit. I mean, these companies want to go public, so they're nerdy upper level execs and people who run these things would want their money. They want to cash out as much as possible, and they go public. I mean, these companies have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, Twitter and the like. I don't know if Twitter's publicly traded. I've checked that out. But regardless of the case, I mean, this is insane. This is really I sincerely hope the result, Roger, is that we see alternative platforms emerge. Nothing lasted. Everybody thought blogging was going to be forever in the late 2000s, mid 2000s, and that's long gone now. Nobody blogs really anymore at length. All right.
So speaking of new platforms, we're back again. I think we're online with crusading journalist Mike Cernovich joining us now, taking time off from his family vacation to tune in and dial in to the Stone Cold Truth. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, man. I can't wait to see Bring Me Roger Stone.
Yeah, I saw it at the Tribeca Film Festival. This is the Netflix documentary. Of course, I was sitting with a bunch of smug, elitist liberals, and even they had to applaud at the end of it. So it's not a love letter. It's also not a hit piece. It's a pretty balanced view. I view political combat with zest, as you know. I'm reminded that famous scene in the movie Patton with George C. Scott, where he's looking across the the battlefield, and he says, "God, I love war." In any event, what's going on with General McMaster, the National Security Advisor in the Trump White House? Seems to me to be quite a bit of intrigue. You have been on the forefront of reporting the facts. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so H.R. McMaster, who's National Security Advisor, is, of course, a legitimate war hero, was better suited for tank warfare and armor-style warfare in the fields of Iraq. It isn't the right guy for a national security level position, and Trump is realizing that. So McMaster's answer to everything is a search. McMaster, of course, was he was mentored by General Petraeus. Petraeus is the only reason McMaster was a general. McMaster was passed over twice by a review board, and then Petraeus was flown out to get on the review board to get him a general. So McMaster owes a great debt of gratitude in his career and, of course, loyalty to Petraeus. Their answer to everything is bomb, 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 armor, armor, armor. They don't really understand. He also won't say radical Islam. They don't understand that right now it's more about avoiding people becoming radical. It's more of an information battle. It's more of mimetic warfare. We don't need more armor. We don't need more tanks. We need intelligent people running counter-propaganda and running psyops. So his answer to everything is he wants to blow things up, and Trump wasn't really liking it. McMaster, he's also a general and doesn't like to listen to anybody, and he wanted to hire his own deputy national security advisor, Rick Waddell, and just brought him into the office. And Waddell just set up his own office as if he were already hired, which Trump didn't like. So it looks like there's a solution, and that is there's the vice chief of staff position, the Army vice chief of staff position, which is the second highest ranking Army officer, is opening up. So McMaster could get pinned his 4th star, get a nice promotion. He could get out of the national security advisor position, which he doesn't even like having anyway. Get his 4th star. He's happy. Trump's happy. The media can't blow it out of proportion because, hey, the guy got promoted. It's a big thing, and then somebody else better could be brought in.
Yeah, it would be very Nixonian. It's the way Nixon gave Alexander Haig his 4th star, moving him out of a place where he no longer wanted him to a place where he did want him. McMaster is, of course, a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, kind of a conventional thinker, to say the least. I don't believe his recommendation of 150,000 boots on the ground in Syria, seconded by his colleague General Mattis, went over well with the president. They don't understand non-interventionism. They are unconstructed neocons. They don't understand this is a different president and a different presidency. The other problem I see that you have is the inordinate amount of influence that Condoleezza Rice has over Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Indeed, Condi Rice is one of the major architects of the selection and appointment of Tillerson. Tillerson has employed a number of never-Trumpers under him. And there is also an increasing incursion into foreign policy by none other than Dr. Henry Kissinger. My sources tell me that Dr. Kissinger carried private secret messages from President Trump to the Chinese on a very recent trip to China, the result of which may be the cooperation we see coming from the Chinese dealing with the North Korean threat, something Barack Obama tried to get done for 8 years and couldn't, if he really tried.
Yeah, Obama definitely didn't accomplish anything other than hamstringing the country's economy and healthcare system. Right, so Rex Tillerson is another name. He is bringing in never-Trumpers. They actually are sabotaging pro-Trump applications. So right now, and this is where Trump needs a real inside man, a real operator, somebody like you, Roger, back the kind of work you would do, which is, you know how it is. If you have 10 employees, you can barely keep track of who's hooking up in the broom closet, right? You can't keep track of people. And Trump can't keep track of all the deep state people, and they're undermining him whenever they can. They're trying to keep pro-Trump people out wherever they can. They tried to squeeze out Sebastian Gorka. Trump had to personally intervene, which I think is hilarious. That the spin on that was, of course, Sebastian Gorka had worked. He's a great man, and he had worked at Breitbart. They were trying to squeeze him out, and then when he kept his position, the headline was Trump had to personally intervene. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? He's the president. You don't have to personally intervene. Why are they trying to frustrate?
Think about this. Your community's aging water infrastructure systems are very likely to be contaminated with heavy metals like lead, disinfection chemicals like ammonia, chlorine and chloramines, and pharmaceuticals like statins, pain meds, and antidepressants. And no, water treatment plants are not equipped to filter these pharmaceutical toxins out. Protect your family's water supply with the trusted Big Berkey water filter. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show Big Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria, and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market, the gold standard in water purification, and our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey water filters, for the love of clean water.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-945-1063. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-945-1063. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-945-1063. That's 1-800-945-1063.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Be prepared for the next disaster with the Shelter Pod. The Shelter Pod is a large, all-season, heavy-duty, quick-deploy shelter. The Shelter Pod system can be set up in 30 seconds and includes an emergency medical kit, water filter, survival tools, and more. Are you prepared to take care of your family? Do you have everything in one place ready to go? Get it now or enter to win a complete Shelter Pod system at ShelterPod.com. The Shelter Pod at ShelterPod.com. Shelter when you need it most.
Hi, this is former President Jimmy Carter. Rosalind and I like the stone cold truth because, like me, Roger Stone always tells the truth.
You're back here on the Stone Cold Truth. We're broadcasting from the Stone Zone. Joining me, of course, is Tyler Nixon, my faithful co-host, and the journalist Mike Cernovich. We are talking about the dynamics in the Trump White House and the fact that General McMaster may be moved up in a sense. He really isn't well cut out for the position he's in. I was delighted that the president declined the recommendation of he and General Mattis, the defense secretary, the first non-civilian defense secretary in quite some time. I think that required a special congressional waiver, if I'm not mistaken, to put 150,000 men and women on the ground in Syria. The single worst idea I've ever heard. That would have been the functional end of Trumpism. Pull the bus over, let me off. That would have been it for me. As would the nomination of Mitt Romney as Secretary of State, another, pothole that we fortunately sidestepped. What do you see happening internally here? The dynamic, Mike, is fraught with disaster.
Right. He needs the hatchet man to go in. Bannon is doing a great job, but Bannon is also trying to get policy directed. What Trump needs is a person who really understands the base, somebody who has immense political will, and somebody who has a certain level of amoral, not immoral, but the amoral will to do what it takes to get the saboteurs out of the White House. I think Roger Stone would be great for a position like that. Somebody like Roger Stone who can just go in department by department, flag the saboteurs, and say, all right, these people are out. Let them sue us. Who cares? Doesn't matter. There are bigger things at stake here. That's what's missing right now. And if Trump had a hatchet man who could go through each department and just start slaughtering people,
I'm hoping
see a lot
that
of improvements and these bad ideas would start to go away.
Well, I don't think the president is going to say, if I might coin a phrase, get me Roger Stone anytime soon. But there are good people who are more than capable of doing that job. They have, unfortunately, been passed up so far for jobs in this administration. I can think of several men and women who are incredibly able and experienced and knowledgeable about the ways of Washington, but whose loyalty is 100% for Trump. So I think, Mike, you're exactly right. It's a little early, but we already need a house cleaning. We are going to be featuring, as I said earlier on the show, a new T-shirt that says, I love the Donald, but I didn't vote for Jared Kushner. Because I think we have to let people know that, and I have no personal animus towards Mr. Kushner. I've only met him once that I know of. I know his wife much better. I have a very, very high regard for her on a personal level. Then I pick up the New York Times and read that she has an agenda. Who knew?
Yeah,
I don't remember her discussing that agenda during the election other than helping her father get elected, which I admire enormously. But now she is, if I may quote, a moderating influence. Donald Trump doesn't need any moderating. Donald Trump needs to be Donald Trump. That's the Donald Trump we elected. That's the Donald Trump I'm loyal to.
That's the most
same thing with McMaster. McMaster's a war hero. I hold H.R. McMaster for what he did in his previous career. I hold him in the highest regard. But in the current position, this isn't what we need. It's not what we voted for. The same thing. I think that Jared Kushner has done well in many areas of his life, as has Ivanka. And these are great people. But they weren't at the rallies. People weren't chanting for Ivanka. People weren't singing, bringing Ivanka. People voted for Trump for a specific reason. And I like what you said. We don't need a moderating influence. We need a radicalizing influence. We need somebody in the White House who is to the right of Trump and who is saying, Trump, you're not going far enough. We need to
I had hoped that Steve Bannon would play this role. He seems not to have exerted himself anywhere in the personnel process. I've been around about 20 years longer than he have. Personnel is policy. We knew it under Reagan. We knew it under Nixon. We know it now. It has always been thus. And therefore, I wish he had exerted himself when he had a bit more political capital to exert. I think he gets unfairly blamed for the failure of the first attempt on Obamacare. Completely unfair. That wasn't his show. That was the Priebus-Ryan follies. Although Steve seems to have cleaved himself at the hoof to Reince Priebus, which is akin to having cancer, in my view.
Well, Steve's in a tough position because he's being undermined anywhere you can look, and then, of course, the media tried to play mind games on Trump by saying Bannon's taking credit for everything, Bannon this. They're writing all these articles, but meanwhile, people like Bill Kristol are saying, I wish McMaster was the president. Yeah. Right? So where are the media articles about McMaster taking over the White House, right? Other than me, I'm not seeing all these articles about the McMaster coup and the Petraeus coup, and that is, of course, because the media is fake. They're not going to report on the real stories. They only have an agenda.
But there really is shrewd analysis behind this. Let me say this. I've known Donald Trump for 40 years. There's one thing that he really, really dislikes. When he thinks you are attempting to take credit for his accomplishments, he hates it. When Forbes magazine had Jared's picture on the cover and it said, the man who elected Trump, I know for a stone cold fact that Jared got his derriere chewed over that story.
Yeah.
If you go through my book, The Making of the President 2016, I say about 19 times, Donald Trump elected Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the genius who founded Trumpism and who selected the issues of trade and immigration and NATO and our losing streak in America. It is Trump. There is no Karl Rove figure in Trump world. It's not Jared Kushner. It's not Steve Bannon. It's not Roger Stone. Mike, you're exactly right. When Reince Priebus and his pals plant the story saying Bannon is Trump's brain, they're trying to hurt Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon never claimed to be Trump's brain. He would never say that. He knows that's not true. When you work for Donald Trump, yes, you try to help him, but you don't run him. He runs you.
Roger, looking at your mentor, Richard Nixon, by comparison, I think Trump has everything Nixon wished he had in terms of boldness and the ability to just say anything. Whereas I feel like Nixon had everything that Trump needs at this time, which is he understands, as you said, staff is policy. He had his Haldeman. He had his Ehrlichman. I feel, unfortunately, that I think Jared Kushner is going to be the Achilles heel of the Trump administration because he can't fire his son-in-law. And it really is unfortunate because we all only came to find out about his influence really after the election, after he became embedded and suddenly was now the right-hand man.
Don't be so sure. Donald Trump is a man who once fired his own brother from the family business.
Yeah, but it's his daughter is the connection, though. There's
a great difference here, though. Nixon had staffers on the right, Pat Buchanan and others. Harry Dent, for example, and he had advisors on the left, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, in those days Bill Sapphire, who was considered a liberal Republican, and Ray Price, and he would get the best of both of them on one issue. Give me your views on housing. And then he would look at both sides and he'd make decisions, and he would mix and match, and he would come up with policy. The President Trump has people who are establishment types in the House, but he lets them hold sway. It's complicated. Remember, Nixon and Johnson had 8 years at vice president, or at least in Kennedy's case, 3 years, and 8 years in Nixon's case to watch the system. They knew where the levers of power were. They knew the 10 most important jobs where you had to have loyalists. Donald Trump comes to this with no such grounding, and that has been a disadvantage.
And that you want the rivalries to be productive, not destructive. Mike, you sound like you want to jump in there.
Oh no, I wasn't pasting to jump in. I just tend to paste when I'm on the phone. Everything Roger said is great. We need more people who are to the right of Trump and they're making those kind of arguments. We definitely need a hatchet man, and Trump's getting it. Trump is definitely going to get it. It'll work itself out.
All right, so I think that we are in some consensus here. We thank Mike Cernovich for joining us on the Stone Cold Truth. We want to invite you back, Mike. You stay out there. You keep fighting. You keep swinging, because I'm in awe of the terrific job you're doing for the forces of freedom.
And certainly enjoy Palm Springs.
Team effort, man. We all got to kill them every day. Thanks again for having me on.
Well, try to hook up with my friend John Phillips out there in Palm Springs from KABC. He's a firecracker.
Well, another stone cold truth in the can.
Well, Tyler, what next week we are seeking to bring Roseanne Barr on. If you've been following her Twitter feed, she's had quite an odyssey from the left to the right, emerging as another MVP in the election of Donald Trump. So next week, Tyler Nixon, Roger Stone, right here, Stone Cold Truth on the Genesis Communications Network. And remember, victory or death.
Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you Nixon's Secrets. Nixon's Secrets shows how Hillary Clinton was fired from the 1974 Nixon Impeachment Committee staff for lying and violating Nixon's rights, and how Hillary tried unsuccessfully to block Nixon from the Clinton White House. No wonder Nixon, upon meeting Hillary for the first time, said, "She's cold, cold as ice." Find out more at stonecoldtruth.com. In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how and much more in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com.